One of the techniques I'm often asked to show in class is making an entire image black and white while preserving one area of color. If I were to simply go to Image, Mode, Grayscale, and click Discard, it would permanently remove the beautiful blue, and that's what I want to pop in this photo. So I will undo the grayscale, and by making a selection of the eyes, before adding an adjustment layer, you can preserve the color of the blue eyes and at the same time convert everything else in the background to black and white. So let's try that. Using my elliptical marquee tool, I'm going to select one eye. And I really only need to aim for the blue portion. In fact, it's difficult to see, so let's zoom in a bit. And I could pick up the selection area and move it. I could also do Select Transform Selection to adjust the size. That way you adjust just the marching ants. But I don't have to have this perfect. It's going to be on a mask, so I will be able to paint in changes if I don't make the perfect selection. In fact, I'm only going to do one eye to start, which will look a little wacky in the beginning, but it will illustrate the use of a layer mask and an adjustment layer at the same time. This is the eye I want to keep in color. So what I'll do is select the inverse, so now all of the background is selected. And I've been using Control- or Command- to zoom out, but everything inside these marching ants from the edge to the edge of the eye will be converted to black and white. In your Adjustments panel, in the second row is black and white, and one click will apply that as an adjustment layer. But see that tiny little black dot? That little black dot indicates this colored area is being protected. Black is blocking this effect on the whole image. And I actually love to show the power of this black and white. If I hide the layer, you can see I've got pink or magenta, some cyan, some yellow, some red. If I show it and move the reds, the shirt was in red, but the magenta or pink is also in the red family. And I really want to go for a special effect where every detail on the face really fades out so the eyes pop more. So I'm moving the reds a bit too far for that special effect. I'll take the yellows left and they get darker, but again I want a washed out look. I'm going to take the yellows right so it's like a blur or a glow on the skin. I'll play with the greens, and there's just a little movement in the shadows here in the greens. So I tend to go very far one direction or the other to see what I get. And you could use your own settings for this. Cyan, the zipper and the detailing there is moving, and I want to keep some detail, but I want them lighter. I'll move the blues. Oh, and that's really affecting the other eye in the background. And I'll stretch this panel, and here come the magentas. So that's the look I'm going for, really washed out, but I want this eye in its own color also. So the way you achieve that is by going to the Paintbrush tool, B for brush, and swapping your foreground and background colors by hitting this double-sided arrow will make black my foreground color. And for a brush size, you can estimate it. I slide my brush size until it's about as big as the pupil itself. So one click brings in that natural blue. And you'll notice because of the feather, the softness on the brush, hardness at 0 versus 100, 0 is a really soft or blended feathered edge brush. As I move closer to 100, I get a harder edge. A little bit of the original skin color peeked through because my hardness was at 0. So if I click away, I tend to use this area to click away or deselect so I don't mark the image. If I click away, I can swap my colors again and maybe use a much smaller brush size to take away the skin color that peeked in. I could have made 2 selections to begin with, but I wanted to show you the beauty of painting with a layer mask. So here we have our final result, a very surreal looking adjusted image with the original eye color showing through. Everything in black and white except for one object by using a black and white adjustment layer and then painting on the layer mask with either black or white to reveal or hide. Now the last bonus trick on this is I can use a very large brush about the size of her cheeks with a hardness of 0 and I could paint back some of the original skin color. So I want to block the black and white. So I will swap to black. And I only want to paint back a very light amount. So I will set the opacity to 20%. And I will click and drag over the cheeks. I'll make my brush smaller for this side and click and drag over this cheek. And if I were to drag again, you would get 40%. It gets darker. But I think that's too much, so I'll undo it. But maybe for the mouth, I will try 30%. And I really try to get the mouth in one swipe, because if you let go, it compounds the effect. So I'll dial this down so the brush is a good size to paint in the mouth. And it looks like we're adding lipstick, but we're just revealing the original lip color. And now we have a painted photo. So that was the last minute bonus on creating a really artistic effect, preserving the original eye color, and bringing back subtle percentages of the skin color for the cheek and the mouth color. Try this with one of your own family photos and see how it turns it into art.